Well, oh, here we are, aren't we? Yes. Oh, do we have a problem? I think not. I think all is well. I think we're good. I know we're good for Instagram. I think we're good here. I just had a pop-up come up on my studio screen. Well, look, welcome to another edition of E.W. Jackson for America. You know, I'm just thinking about this convention. Of course, I'm catching snippets here and there and reading about it. Lord, please deliver us from these people. I mean, they are so horribly deceived, that you really just don't know what to say for them. I mean, you really don't. You just, I mean, did you know, for example, they have a mobile abortion clinic parked right outside, apparently, the convention, so you can go in, you can get an abortion during the convention, you can get a you can get a vasectomy during the I mean, just think about the thinking of these people. So basically, I said you ought to rename it the unborn baby killing convention. Because, hey, folks, while you're at a convention, we'll kill any unborn babies you need to have killed. I know, folks, it sounds ugly to say it that way, but it's just the truth. We're progressive. We're forward thinking. We kill unborn babies without giving it a second thought. Lord have mercy on us. We celebrate it. And then vasectomies, of course, I'll leave that alone. Yeah. Do with that what you will. I mean, it's, and you know, you think about the things that are being said. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this because it's, again, it's so prurient. It's so stupid. I will make this one comment about what I'm going to say. You saw the joke, the Obama joke about Trump being so obsessed with the size of his crowds. And then, you know, made a little gesture. Now, I will make this one comment and I'll leave it alone. I think the men who make jokes like that, and I mean, that was kind of really far-fetched, to me, are men who are unclear about their own masculinity. And of course, I believe that, I believe Barack Obama's bisexual. I mean, I believe, you know, and it's not just me pulling something out of thin air. We know all the stuff that went on in Chicago, reported before he rose to prominence. And then the letters he wrote to his girlfriend talking about his fantasies about having sex with men. Normal men don't have fantasies about having sex with other men. They just don't. Because normal men like women. But Donald, you know, Barack Obama, I'll leave it at that. It's not even worth commenting on. But again, for a former president to go there, I mean, it's just, they complain about Donald Trump being undignified and unpresidential. Oh, yeah, I tell you, you know. And then this, I don't know whether I made a note, put it in my archives about this, but did you hear about this guy, this rapper? Oh yeah, rapper Lil Jon performed at the convention. Now I don't know what he performed at the convention, but apparently he's got some songs that I can't even, some of the titles I don't even want to read. I'm serious, and I'm not. but one is called Nasty Girl. The other's called One Night Stand. And this is who they bring in for entertainment. And he's got one song with a lyric in it that goes, well, here again. You know what? I won't even bother because I can't really clean it up enough to feel even comfortable reading this garbage. This is what they have performed. You know, I said that Kamala Harris is a moral sewer. She's a moral reprobate. She got her start being the concubine of Willie Brown. Now, folks, here again, that's not Bishop Jackson trying to be mean or making things up. It's just the truth. She got her start as the concubine of Willie Brown. She was 29, he was 60, and he was married. And he said, well, he was separated from his wife, but the other reports say, well, he was not separated from his wife, but he did whatever he wanted to do. And so she was his side piece. She's 29, he's 30, but her career took off. The woman is a moral reprobate. And so is this guy she's got as a running mate. He's perhaps even worse. I mean, if you're putting tampons in boys' bathrooms, you don't know what to say about it, about a man like that, other than these people are reprobates. Romans chapter 1 talks about them. God has given them up to a reprobate mind to do those things which are unseemly, or do those things which are not convenient or out of order. And then this guy, Willie Porter, is at the convention, apparently. I guess he has not been given a speaking role as yet, but he's, and I don't really know. I mean, I've just read about him being there, and, you know, he's there saying that, you know, he wants to make sure that the agenda for the transgenders goes further than it's ever gone. I don't know what that means. Going to put a transgender in everybody's house? Make you live with one? How much further can you go? You're going to put guys in girls' locker rooms and on girls' sports teams, and you're going to force everybody to use the right pronouns. You're going to start teaching, and that's one of his things. This guy, apparently Willie Porter, is to make sure that we got to make sure that children can be injected with hormones, and that children can get the operations they need to affirm the agenda. Now, that's the assemblage. It really is. I used to call it, I have called it in the past, the coalition of the godless. And that's what it is. It is the coalition of the godless. And this guy, by the way, you know, it's interesting. I don't know where I saw it because, again, I just got a glance at it. This guy, Sean Fain, who is the head of the United Auto Workers Union, I saw a clip of him denouncing Christians, sneering, you know, these pro-life. They don't care anything about what happens to people who are born. They just care about you know, they probably never opened a Bible. They don't know what a Bible is, as if he knows. I've opened my Bible, and I've read in Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 19, I set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Therefore, choose life. Choose life, that you and your seed, or you and your descendants, may live. I read Jesus coming, saying this devil comes to steal, to kill, and to destroy. What is a quote-unquote abortion? It's the stealing of a human life. It's the killing of a human life. It's the destruction of a human life. Jesus said, but I've come that you might have life to the full until it overflows. God says in Psalm 139, Jeremiah chapter 1, I knew you when I formed you in your mother's womb. So has he read that? So basically what they're doing is telling God, no, thank you. You step aside. I'll be God. Thank you very much. And determine who lives and who dies. I'll determine the life of an innocent child. If the child is not convenient to me, I'll kill it And you had nothing to say about it, God, because after all, I'm my own God, and I'll do my own thing, and I will determine the course of human life. Yeah, well, I don't use the term luck often, but I mean it in this case for effect. Good luck with that. Because that won't work. That will not work. These people don't understand. They're going to stand before God one day with all this. And it is not, unless they repent before it's too late, it is not going to be a pretty picture. At any rate, I wanted to just kind of get some of that craziness out of the way, because that's what they're doing at the convention, believe it or not. What I wanted to get to really, yeah, Billy Porter, I did. Oh, Lord have mercy. And the thing is, you know what, I'm going to show you a picture of this guy. This guy. I mean, this is sick, folks. This guy is wearing some kind of dress. He's got a goatee. But he's at their convention. He's one of the important figures at the convention. Ever heard of this guy? That's him. Woo! Lord, have mercy on us. Jesus. Oh, God. Come quickly, Lord Jesus. Come quickly. What I wanted to get to, though, is having gotten that little bit of a rant out of the way, is we just got this revision downward of the jobs report. And by the way, keep in mind, this is a revision downward after revisions downward every time we've gotten a jobs report. So this is not a compilation of all the downward revisions. This is on top of all the downward revisions we've gotten under the Biden administration. On top of that, almost 1 million jobs, 818,000 jobs that were not created, that they claim were created. Now here's what I want to discuss with you today, and this is why this election is, I mean, another reason why this election is so important. You know, the Democrats love government. They love it. Well, why wouldn't they? Because it's how they get enriched, right? It's how they make money. It's how they become famous. It's their bread and butter. Barack Obama's never built anything, created anything, invented anything, made anything, and he's probably worth $100 million, maybe more. Some people say he'll be a billionaire before it's all over. Joe Biden has never invented anything, created anything, made anything, even innovated anything. Neither one of them has ever created a job in the private sector. They have become wealthy feeding at the government trough. So they love government because they are incapable of competing in the private sector. They're incapable of being entrepreneurs. They're incapable of doing anything on their own. So they feed at the government trough, and that's how they become rich. That's how they become famous. That's how they make a name for themselves. That's how they become important. So, yeah, why they love government. They love it. You know, if you've been listening to me a while, you may have heard me say this. It's been a while since I've said this as well. I taught the coalition of the godless is a phrase that I just kind of resurrected this morning as I was thinking about this morning's program. But you may have heard me say this. There are a lot of people in our country who are Americans in name only. In other words, they are legally Americans, but they don't think like Americans. They don't have an American orientation. That was one of the things I often said about Barack Obama, about this whole birther flap. And by the way, I'm one of those people who believes that Barack Obama was indeed born in the United States of America. But I said, I think there's a deeper point to the whole flap, to the whole discussion. And the deeper point is he doesn't act like an American. He doesn't think like an American. He doesn't seem to have any affinity or loyalty to America. And so it's easy to think, is he really an American? It's really easy to think that way about him, because even today, the speech he gave, and I didn't listen to it, but I didn't hear from what's been reported to me, I didn't hear one sentence of affirmation of the American system, the American dream, the American way of life. It was all basically criticism of Donald Trump. And by extension, criticism of anybody who supports him. So there are people in our country who are legally Americans, but they really don't think like Americans. They don't have an American orientation. I've often said, and by the way, if you're not aware of this, my website, standamerica.us, the organizational website, has a section for the constitutional oath. They're called the Citizen's Oath to the Constitution. You can actually print it out, take the oath. Actually, if you, I think we have a way on the website that you can take the oath, and we will sign it and send it to you, so that you can post it that you've taken an oath to the Constitution. Because this is in America, the only people who take oaths to the Constitution are military people and people who serve in official offices. Citizens don't have to take an oath to the Constitution, and most never do. But if you become a citizen of the United States of America, if you're naturalized, then you have to take an oath to the Constitution in order to become a citizen. So I think it's interesting that those of us who are born here, those of us who are citizens by birth, don't have to take the oath to the Constitution, but those who are naturalized do. Now, I don't believe that we ought to require every citizen to take an oath to the Constitution. I think that that's subject to some abuse. You know what I mean? And freedom means you don't have to take an oath to our Constitution because you don't have to be here. You don't have to stay here. You can leave. But I believe that every citizen ought to want to take an oath to the Constitution. And so we provide it on our website. The Citizen's Oath to the Constitution. You can go and check it out. And we've got other things there as well. Just let me, in fact, you know what? Let me give you explicit directions so that you know exactly where to go on that page, because navigating websites can sometimes be a little bit daunting. So let me see where you can go. I think it's under no, it's not get involved. It's stand with us. Yes, it's under the stand with us item on the menu under pledge, oath, action. Here we go. So we got oath to the Constitution, we got the Citizen's Oath, and we got the Citizen's Pledge. And I'm going to click on Citizen's Oath. In fact, I just sent you all this. The Citizen's Oath to the Constitution says, as a citizen of the United States of America, I, E.W. Jackson, acknowledge that I am an American citizen by birth or naturalized American citizen by choice, and I freely and proudly choose to remain an American citizen. I further acknowledge that in my lifetime, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights have been eroded by the ignorance of citizens and trampled by certain government officials who violate their oath to satisfy their hunger for power. Therefore, I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same. Furthermore, that I will oppose all ideologies, ideas, and policies which undermine the Constitution, including but not limited to Marxism, socialism, communism, fascism, and Sharia law. I take this oath voluntarily without any reservation, under no legal or governmental obligation. So help me God. And then you can date it and sign it. You can print it out and sign it yourself. Actually, I don't need to sign it. You can sign it yourself and post it. That's right. Your signature is what needs to be on it, not mine. So that's a citizen's oath of the Constitution. I like that too. It's kind of neat. And then there's the citizen's pledge to stand for America. And that is already, the oath is more of a 8.5 by 11 document. But the citizen's pledge, as you can see, is a framed document. Let me see if I can, there we go. Get this. I'm showing it to my Instagram audience first. Oh, is that backwards for you all? So it's framed. It's already designed for framing. It says, in honor of our founding fathers and every patriot who has endured hardship, shed blood, and sacrificed life and limb for American liberty, I pledge, if I have to be the last person standing up for our Constitution, the last person standing up for our Judeo-Christian values, and the last person standing up for our flag, I will never give in. I will never give up. I will never back down. I will never allow my beloved country to become a Marxist, socialist, communist nation. I will stand up for America as one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I will support and vote for candidates whose principles uphold these values. To this I pledge my life, my fortune, and my sacred honor until my final breath. Man, I like that too. You all have reminded me of these things. Okay, so I brought this up. Man, that just turns me on. But I brought this up because I was thinking about this convention and how un-American it is, and thinking about this love of government that these people have, and that government is the answer to everything, and the American attitude toward government. So let me express to you my opinion about the American attitude toward government. You see if you agree with me on this. The American attitude toward government is that it is a necessary evil. And we say necessary evil because it is based upon the fact that human beings are subject to violate other human beings, and that some authority must be established in order to prevent them from doing that, and also to prevent us from taking matters into our own hands when we feel that has been done to us, so that you don't have anarchy. Or as the end of the book of Judges says, every man did what was right in his own sight. So we have governments, as our declaration says, to secure the rights and liberties given to us by God, and to secure them from whom? Well, primarily from other people, but also from itself, right? The Constitution is written to secure those rights from other people as well as from government. So we say, well, government, okay, is a necessary evil. Because in heaven, we won't need, in the kingdom of God, we won't need to be governed. Because in a perfect world, in perfect people, people are going to treat each other right. And people are going to do what's right. Jesus will rule with a rod of iron in the millennial reign, but he will not have to rule with a rod of iron in the kingdom, because there will be nobody to rule with a rod of iron against. Everybody there will be his children, will be his servants, will be in love with him, and will be perfected in every way, in every way. You don't need government for that. We'll have a king, and I have no doubt that there will be some things that will be done that will be organized, but it will not be, you can do this and you cannot do that. You can do this and you cannot do that. You violated this, you must be punished. None of that. But we don't live in heaven, do we? We live on the earth. So government is necessary evil. Number two, government should be respected, but not trusted without reservation. In other words, we are skeptical of it, right? We respect it because the Bible teaches us to respect authority, but we don't trust it without reservation. We approach government with skepticism. Now, why? Why do we do that? We do it because we know that human beings are flawed and sinful, and we know that they will have a tendency to abuse power. And so we don't sort of throw our hearts open to government. We might throw them open to people, and of course, even people, with the best of intentions sometimes will mess us up. But we don't throw our hearts open to government because we know government is subject to abuse those it is charged to govern because of the fallibility and the sinfulness of the human heart. James Madison said that government, the Constitution should restrict the power of government. He said, because enlightened statesmen will not always be at the helm. So we approach it we respect the government, but we approach it with reservations and skepticism because of the fallibility of human beings. Okay? Now, that is our attitude toward government, to me, in a nutshell. I mean, you could spin off other things about it, but we question government because we know its tendency to abuse power because human beings are at the helm. The left doesn't see it that way. They see government as the answer. We see government as a problem that must be continually managed and continually restrained. I will never forget hearing Barack Obama in an interview. This was when he was running for president, and he was being asked about the Constitution. And, he calls himself a constitutional law professor. He ain't no more constitutional law professor than I'm a brain surgeon. Give me a break. But he says, I think that one of the mistakes of the Constitution, I'm paraphrasing, of course, I don't remember the exact quote, but this is what he said, essentially. One of the mistakes of the Constitution is it didn't grant the government enough positive rights. The government now, not people, the government, enough positive rights. And it didn't deal with redistributive justice. Well, see, that's not an American talking. That's a Marxist talking. You see what I'm getting at? That's not... When he said that, and you all forgive me if this seems a little bit disrespectful, but when he said that, I remember saying, when he said, it didn't give the government enough positive rights, I said, it was designed that way, dum-dum. I mean, they didn't stumble into that. It was designed that way. It was to maximize individual liberty and minimize or limit the power of government because the two cannot coexist. You can't have government with all power and then have people with true liberty, right? You can't. There's a balance. You have government with enough power to protect the liberty of people. Well, he's talking about a different kind of government. And then when he says, and it didn't address the issue of redistributive justice. And the Supreme Court has, and he also said, the Supreme Court hasn't addressed the issue of redistributive justice. Well, redistribution is not justice. Redistribution is the human whim of people who think they know best what everybody should have. That's not justice. That's tyranny, frankly, what it is. And of course, that's the basis of communism and socialism. And what do those systems always produce? Tyranny. This idiot Walls says, one man's socialism is another man's neighborliness. And I have said many times, yeah, but that neighborliness, to use his word, always ends at the point of a gun. It always ends by force. You will give this up because we demand it. You will go here. You will do this. You will say that. You will stop saying this because we demand it. And when I say at the point of a gun, you know what I mean. In other words, ultimately it ends in force. We will lock you up. You resist, we will kill you. That's the lesson of history, isn't it? I mean, that's the lesson of the Soviet Union. That's the lesson of Communist China. That's the lesson of North Korea. That's the lesson of Vietnam. That's the lesson of Venezuela. That's the lesson of Cambodia. You name it. That's always the lesson. Now, what I've just given you is an American understanding of the nature of government. I mean, that is what makes our system so unique. And that is what we are fighting to preserve. And that is why people like Barack Obama and Comrade Kamala and Walz and Michelle, that's why these people are Americans legally, but not in heart. And certainly, I've often said every American is really the spiritual and intellectual heir of George Washington. Because George Washington kept a very, very easy grip on power. And when the time came, he easily let go. These people we're dealing with, they want to grab power and hold it. Hold on to it for dear life. And if you try to try to make them let it go, they will lie, they will steal, they will cheat, they will defraud in elections, they will prosecute you, they will try to put you in jail in order to hold on to that power that they love so dearly. George Washington said, I've served, I'm done, going back to Mount Vernon, dig my fingers in the dirt, take care of my home, my wife, my family. I am his spiritual and intellectual heir. Yeah, I've often joked, I say, I'm a son of George Washington. People say, well, you don't look much like George Washington. But, that's not the point, right? I mean, remember Barack Obama resentfully saying the reason why people oppose me is that I don't look like the other presidents. Well, nobody cares what you look like, dummy. We care what you stand for. Oh. Forgive me for throwing the dummies and idiots around, but folks, sometimes you just, because for somebody who's supposed to be so smart, the question is, how dumb can you get? My friend Andrew Womack says, how dumb can you be and still breathe? But, but here's the key to this. And look, I don't doubt that on an intellectual level, Obama's a smart guy. I think he's been a beneficiary of a lot of affirmative action, no doubt. But I don't doubt that he's a smart guy, that he's got some brain matter. But when the heart is wrong, the head doesn't get it. See, when the heart is closed, the head is closed. When the heart opens, the head opens. So we're looking at a situation, this is why we are facing the potential fundamental transformation of our country, because we've got people who don't think like Americans. They just don't. They don't share our values. They don't revel in our legacy. I mean, you hear me talk about George Washington and James Madison and John Adams and Patrick Henry, and I've read all their books, even the founding fathers who weren't presidents. Samuel Adams, I read his biography, great Christian. Oh man, powerful Christian, powerful man of God. That is part of who I am. That shall we say, that is the stream out of which I flow as an American. These people want to dam that stream up and start their own. And they wanted to flow from Karl Marx and Antonio Gramsci and Mao Zedong and Vladimir Lenin. See, that's where they wanted to flow from. Now, what those two streams of thought produce could not be further apart. This is what we're dealing with, because look, the stream that emanates from what I've been sharing, the legacy of George Washington, as I've coined it, that we are all spiritual and intellectual heirs of George Washington, and the stream that flows from Karl Marx, which is the stream that Obama and Comrade Kamala and Walls, that they flow from, produce very different results because they come from two very different places. And let's be very, very clear about this. Marxism begins with the premise, the lying premise: there is no God. Now, Barack Obama might say, oh, well, I believe in God, but he doesn't. Michelle Obama doesn't believe in God. These people on the left, this guy, Sean Fain, by the way, I scoured the internet trying to find remarks he made about pro-life people and Christians, and, with their Bibles, they're sneering with their Bibles. They probably never opened a Bible because, we're pro-life. So obviously, how could we ever open the Bible? But all those people really come from a premise: there is no God. And even if they say they believe in God, it is a God to whom they are not accountable. A God that they do not acknowledge as real. It's just a word. It's just a tradition. It's just like Barack Obama would say, I get my devotion, whatever that meant, from a lot of different strains. In other words, he read a little Buddhism and a little Hinduism and a little Christianity and a little, who knows? Might have been reading a little Satanism for all I know. So, as a practical matter, whether they enunciate it this way or not, there is no God. We come from a stream that says, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. There is a God. There is one God. And we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. That among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So our liberty and our fundamental rights come from Almighty God. Boy, I mean, you couldn't begin from two poles that are farther away. So how in the world can you ever end up in the same place? You can't. What is it? I think it's the book of Amos that says, how can two walk together except they be agreed? And that word agreed means unless they meet at the same point. It's like saying, you and I can't take a walk together if you say, okay, well, I'm going to take a walk in Florida, and I say, okay, well, I'm going to take a walk in California, and then we say, and we're going to walk together. Well, no, we can't. We got to both meet somewhere, and then we can walk together. And these folks at this convention aren't meeting us in the same place. They're not meeting America in the same place, maybe us. They're not meeting America in the same place because, again, they don't begin where America begins. They begin where communism and totalitarianism and tyranny and socialism begin. That's their starting place. So when you hear policies like price controls, that's what you're hearing. You hear things like, you have to use certain pronouns. In other words, you're going to control my speech. I can't say what is on my conscience. I've got to say what you command me to say. That's tyranny, folks. Plain and simple. And when they say we're going to celebrate the killing of an unborn baby, why? Because there is no God. That baby is not sacred. There is no life that we must recognize there. And if it's convenient for me to kill it, we just kill it and move on. I mean, and there is no such thing as gender. That's all fluid. Because God didn't make us. We're just evolutionary accidents. And all kinds of accidents can happen. So you can have the accident. And again, if you can make sense of this, please explain it to me, because I can't. And I mean, I'm a fairly smart guy. At least all the testing I've ever taken has suggested that. I'm a fairly smart guy. I mean, I'm not claiming to be the most brilliant person ever stood on the face of the earth. But I mean, I'm a fairly smart guy. And I still haven't been able to fathom how you can be a different gender person in the wrong body. I'm still trying. Please, anybody who can, explain that to me. Because, I mean, is that a spiritual statement? Is it a psychological statement? I mean, how does that even work? Because these are the same people who tell you probably that there is no spirit. And yet, what do you have? A female spirit and a male body? Because there's no truth to it. It begins from a different premise. And the premise is there are no absolutes. There is no truth. We can do whatever we want to do. We can make up whatever we want to make up. And we can create whatever reality we want to create, because there is no God to whom we are accountable. And there is no ultimate reality, no ultimate truth. And so whatever we say is right as far as we're concerned. And all your little biblical protestations to the contrary mean nothing to us. So what you're witnessing really is a convention. I said a coalition of the godless in this convention. Call it a convention of the contra-constitutionalists. The people really, ultimately, they really want to do away with our Constitution. They really do. That's what's in their hearts. They really do. If they can't do away with it, then they want to pack the Supreme Court so the Supreme Court makes it say whatever they want it to say, which is the same thing. That's a practical matter, the same thing. But what they like to do is do away with it and then create something that out of the wicked, twisted cobwebs of their own minds, that they think somehow that's going to make life so much better for everybody. So we have got a challenge before us. It is a spiritual challenge. I would encourage you once again to be praying and asking God to intervene miraculously in this situation, because the devil is going to try to lie, steal, cheat. I mean, even their theme, freedom. I mean, that's just a great big old fat lie. Freedom. These people they're not interested in freedom. That's simply a code word for killing unborn babies. That's all that is. Or a code word for sexual perversion. That's what they're talking about. They're not talking about fulfilling your God-given gifts and talents and potential and the plans and purposes that God has for your life. They're not talking about that. They're talking about something deeply perverse and wicked and twisted and evil. We got to defeat these people at the ballot box. I would encourage you to go to standamerica.us, standamericapac.us, standamericapac.us. We've got to stop these folks. And remember, they're going to play the race card to the hilt, and we've got to stop them. We've got to stop them. Because look, if Kamala Harris, if Comrade Kamala can hoodwink, manipulate, fearmonger, demagogue black voters into voting for her to the tune of 92 to 95%, we're done. She'll win because she'll take Philadelphia, she'll take Pennsylvania, she'll take Virginia, she'll take North Carolina, she'll take Georgia. Ohio's a little bit more iffy, but it's not a pretty picture. We got to keep her in the 70s. We got to keep her in the 70s, and it can be done. And we've got a plan to do it. Help us. StandAmericaPAC.us is the website. Oh, you know what? My speaker for Sunday morning is from the Crisis Pregnancy Center, Stacy Potts. I got that much straight. From the Crisis Pregnancy Center of Norfolk, L'Chaim. Stop by on Sunday morning at our church, 943 Canal Drive in Chesapeake. Stacy Potts will be the guest speaker. I'll be speaking in Louisville, Kentucky this coming Sunday. I will be back the following Sunday, however. But in the meantime, give us a visit, because the church is not me. The church is the body of Christ. And go fellowship with us and have a good time. We are unabashedly, unapologetically pro-life, as you know. And we love having people from the Crisis Pregnancy Center come and speak to us and encourage us and remind us of the importance that we do more than talk about it, but that we actually do something about it. So God bless each and every one of you. That's going to do it for today. I will be back with you again live tomorrow. And in the meantime, based on everything I've said to you, and of course everything I've been saying to you and everything I've been saying for years, stand up, step up, speak up, refuse to back up. That's even in one of the oaths, or something akin to that is in one of the oaths. Because we cannot be defeated if we will not quit. Because we are on God's side. God bless everybody.